Hey guys, back again with another video. These next few videos are going to be me taking through how I understand each individual element, and then I'm going to integrate them. This one's going to be a two-part. So first there's going to be a theoretical section on what the breath is, which is the first element, and then the next one I'll go into a practical application of how to actually integrate the breath into movements. Okay, so what I've come to understand the breath as is three things. One, it's an activator. Two, it's a pendulum or an oscillator. And three, it's a tether to life force. So what do I mean by this? So for one, the most important practical one is it's an activator, okay? So it's an activator of the body. Without the breath, there's no movement, there's no life. It's the activator. It's when we come out of the womb, we breathe in the world. That's how I see it. We're literally taking in the universe from the farthest reaches of this cosmos, taking it all into ourselves, and then when we breathe out, and that's why we immediately start crying, in my opinion, is because we're taking in everything from everywhere, all the positive, all the negative, all the emotions, the full spectrum, everything. So yeah, it's an activator. Now, more specifically, scientifically, when you breathe in, you're taking in oxygen. Oxygen is paramagnetic. Paramagnetic substance, when you put it to a magnet, it pushes it away. So it's got an affinity to the south pole of a magnet. Human tissue, the cells, each hemoglobin is diamagnetic. That means it has the affinity to the north pole of a magnet. Okay, so where you've got two opposing polarities in interaction, you've got work potential. So as oxygen comes in, those oxygen molecules, which are the most highly paramagnetic substance ever measured, make their way through the bloodstream and connect to individual blood cells. And that connection there with your tissue, which is diamagnetic, creates an electromagnetic charge in every cell throughout the body, which then helps your body to run. So the breath is almost an electromagnetic battery in some sense. Furthermore, when you breathe in and breathe out, we're imitating the fetal position and the life position. In that breathing in naturally excites the extensors of the body, anything that extends and opens. So we have to breathe in and open up. And then when we breathe out, we come down into the fetal position. And that's why when we're in the womb, we're in the fetal position, because we haven't taken our in-breath yet. We haven't been activated yet. Okay? So second thing is, and to complete that point, that is why it's important to manage when you do your breathing in versus when you do your breathing out, depending on the movement that you're doing, how complex it is, and what the goal of that movement is. That'll always change how you need to breathe for that particular movement. Okay, secondly, you've got an oscillator or a pendulum, and the reference that I have to recommend everyone reads for this is this book, Stalking the Wild Pendulum by Itzhak Bentov. I cannot recommend this book enough. It'll fuck your head up, but it's brilliant. So essentially, anytime you have an oscillator or a pendulum, there's an instance of action and rest. Action, rest, action, rest, action, rest. Like so. So, action, rest, action, rest. And what he states in this is, whenever you have a pendulum and an oscillator, you have to keep in mind that at the rest points of that pendulum, in quantum physics, and this is where I'm going to trigger a lot of people potentially, in quantum physics, you can't measure the position of something and know the trajectory of it. And if you know the trajectory of something, you can't know the position. So at that end point where it's at complete rest and is about to tip back down, we know its position. Sorry, we don't know its position, so we can't really... we know its position, so we don't know its trajectory. And what he states is that, technically speaking, we live in an on-off reality, meaning that when that pendulum comes up and rests, the actual pendulum expands into infinity and contracts like that, and then falls back down. Okay? And this has been my understanding meditatively with breath, especially very recently, in that In that end point there, where we breathe in, we're expanding into infinity, and then letting go and contracting. And in each moment, I see breath as a tether to life force, which is bleeding into point number 3, in that we're always connected to the infinity of everything through the breath, right? And when we breathe in, we're breathing in every bit of oxygen, every bit of life force from every part of the universe. That's how I see it. So yeah, oscillators. So having a normal breathing pattern creates what's called a sine wave, a healthy sine wave, which is just a natural rhythmic oscillation, right? And when this is in place, the body uses that breath to tune other biological oscillators like the heart aorta system, which sends out a pressure pulse down to the aorta, which bifurcates into the 2 legs. And then as that comes back, when the 2 meet, that tells the heart when to pump, when to send more blood. All right, so that's an oscillator that's keeping everything going, and that's tied into the breath. It's also associated with peristalsis, which is the rhythmic wave of the spine. That's also an oscillator. Every 6 to 10 seconds, your spine actually has a little pumping mechanism like that, which helps move foodstuffs from mouth to anus and pump cerebral spinal fluid and all sorts of things like that. So yeah, I feel this understanding is very important. And don't trust me. Read this, apply it, try it, think about it. Yeah, you don't need to study on everything, in my opinion. Obviously, references help, but yeah. And lastly, we've got a tether to life force, meaning that, you know, without a few minutes without breath, we die. Quite simply. Yeah. It's the tether to life force, and when we die, I believe we relinquish all of our experience and knowledge and wisdom back to everything to be processed, transmuted, whatever the hell the universe does. So that's the theoretics of breath as I understand them at this point, as it comes out to me through a rant. I'll probably expand more in the future, but yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say right now. And yeah, let me know if this is interests you, or you want any more clarifications or references or particular examples from this book. I'm more than happy to talk about it. And in the next video, I'll explain how to actually integrate the breath into each of the 7 primal pattern movements, which are the fundamental movements required for a human being to exist upright in a 3-dimensional space, essentially. Let me know if this is intriguing, interests you, or let me know if I just went way too much of a rant and I need to simplify it. Hope you enjoy, and I'll come back with more soon.